Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Ammar, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we are absolutely thrilled to be joined by Dave Hime, founder of Gentle Life and creator of the Gentle Mastery Method, a transformative coach and guide dedicated to helping leaders and high achievers unlock authenticity, fulfillment, and legacy. Dave, welcome to Founders Future.
Ammar, I am thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me.
Anytime. I always like to start from the beginning. So take me back to before you started your company. What were you doing beforehand? And then what was really the motivation to start Gentle Life?
What I was doing beforehand was trying and failing at a bunch of different ways of being in business and being successful in business in the ways that I was taught. I'm a child of the 1960s and 70s, and at that time, there was only one formula for success, for a successful life. Graduate high school, get a good college degree, get a good job with a company that was going to take care of you for the rest of your life. That was what I was taught success looks like. That, of course, is not a system that exists anymore. And as somebody who entered the work world in the late 70s and early 80s, I was around for all of the ways in which that system started to fall apart. But every time it wasn't working for me, I blamed myself
Mm,
rather than anything else because I didn't know any better.
yeah.
Simultaneously, at about the age of 5, so at a very young childhood age, kind of that point for me where I understood the mechanics of what it meant to be in a body. Like I knew how to walk and talk and read and write and do all the things that we're supposed to do to survive. I had this awareness that I didn't have the words for it then, but the way I talk about it now is I had awareness of my own consciousness and
Mm,
awareness of the fact that all humanity and everything that exists in the seen and unseen world are all part of one unified force. And
mm,
I was seeing around me that that was not how people were acting in the world.
mm,
And I made a decision at 5 that I would play the game that I was watching being played in front of me, which is that we're all just here to try to survive.
mm.
And I was taught the way to survive was that business success that I just described to you.
Yeah.
All through my life, though, I was given opportunities to see something more, to see something beyond that. I was given a lot of transformational situations to be in, from very early on kinds of transformational trainings like Werner Erhard's EST, all the way through to what I'm actually doing now, which is a culmination of this 45 plus years of trying to figure out how to be in the world authentically.
Mm,
And that has been very what's the word? Accelerated, I would say, by the current status of the world today and the way that the world's established and known systems seem to be disintegrating. And where we are today needs leaders to step up to
mm.
providing something beyond what we have just been taught our 3D world and our five senses can provide us.
Yeah, I love that. I love everything you're saying. I'm a student of Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dr. David R.
Yes,
Hawkins, the map of
yes,
consciousness. I love all of that stuff. Let's
yeah.
give the listeners a little bit more context into your business today. Walk me through, who would you say is your ideal client? Who do you love to work with? And then from there we can get into the different offers and services you provide.
Okay, great. Well, the ideal client for me is someone who is highly resourced. They have been successful, usually in a very traditional way, but um, more successful than most. So the kind of person who, on one end of the spectrum, might be a younger-ish startup founder who's now sold her company for 8 or 9 figures and has a life ahead of her, not knowing exactly what to do next except start the next company. And on the other end of the spectrum, it might be somebody who has risen into a C-suite position and retired. And they
Mm,
have, in both instances, these are people who have created a financial legacy, but there's something more profound calling them. There's
mm,
something that they want to leave, especially in a world that, for my avatar, my client avatar, who is the retiree, that avatar has children and probably grandchildren, and they're concerned about the world they're leaving behind. They
mm,
know they're leaving behind a financial legacy for their children and grandchildren, and that they'll be taken care of in that way. But what can they do to make the world better for humanity, to make the world a better place for everyone, not just their own children and grandchildren? And they feel this desire for a deeper connection with themselves, and they are very resourced, but none of the resources that they've used to get to the place where they are now with success can help them get that inner connection. That's what
mm.
I do.
I love that. So on one hand, you have the successful entrepreneur, CEO, founder, potentially had an exit. And the other hand is the high level executive. Maybe they're retired now or at the tail end of their career. And it sounds like they're both looking for a deeper sense of purpose and meaning in their life. And I think impact is the right word. Is
That's
that
the perfect word. Yes. Impact on a global scale if they can manage it, but definitely impact on a scale that will benefit their own immediate families, their
mm,
friends, their communities. Like many of the clients that I work with have developed very deep networks over their
mm,
careers. And what they see is their peers also struggling with some of the same concerns about the future, but not hearing the call to have a greater impact in this less traditional way. And
yeah.
so what they want to do is they want to have an impact that ripples out for all of the families of their friends in their network.
That's powerful. Now, let's say I'm listening to this and I identify with one of these two different archetypes. What does it actually look like to work with you? What is the core offering? How long are we working together? Walk me through that.
Sure. What the core offering is it's called legacy activation coaching. And this
Mm,
is where the whole idea of leaving a more profound legacy than simply a financial legacy comes in. It is a personal, private, customized one-on-one 3 month container with me. And what happens in that is I actually use the map of consciousness, so David R.
nice.
Hawkins, as we know. And then I use a couple of other esoteric systems. One's called human design, and the other one is called the gene keys. But
Ooh.
those are grounded in something that's not at all esoteric, and that is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So we
Mm,
start by understanding what the hierarchy of needs says about when you have managed all of the 4 levels of survival in your life, you open up to the opportunity of becoming self actualized. And what
yeah.
Maslow says self actualization is becoming the highest, most beneficial version of yourself. Then these
Mm,
other tools, map of consciousness, human design, and the gene keys, unlock what I call the consciousness signature. So I've taken these three
mm,
systems and I'm able to work with my clients and say, based on the information about you specifically within these three systems, here's where I see that you currently are. We'll define what your personal legacy looks like that we want to activate, and we bridge the gap. This consciousness signature lives inside of us. They are inner strengths that simply this system opens to my clients, and those inner strengths are the bridge that get them to the activation of their personal legacy. And that's what our 3 months together is about.
Yeah, I love that. That is so powerful. And the other ones are interesting. I've never heard of these, the human design and the gene key. Can you kind
Yes.
of briefly explain what those are all about?
Absolutely. Well, I won't be able to get to what they are all about briefly,
Fair
but
enough. Fair
I'll
enough.
give you a very, very quick overview. So, human design is a system that came about in the late 80s, and it is a combination of a lot of traditional methodologies. It includes the I Ching, so the Chinese I Ching, astrology, the
Mm.
chakra system, the Kabbalah, but overlaid on all of that is quantum physics.
Ooh.
Because the overriding theme for all of the systems that I use is that everything is energy. And what quantum mechanics and quantum physics teaches us is that energy becomes either a wave or a particle based on the intention or the experience of the person experiencing that energy. So,
Mm.
what human design does is it takes those traditional systems, interweaves them into each other so that I know by looking inside that system and having your birth date, birth time, and birth location, what your outward strengths are and your inward strengths are.
Mm.
The gene keys is a distillation of the same human design system. The man who created human design had a little bit of a glass half empty look about humanity. He was a little bit of a doom foretelling type guy, and this
Yeah.
other man, Richard Rudd, who was an early teacher and trainer of the human design system, is definitely a believer in humanity and in humanity's ability to overcome
Yeah.
any of the difficulties or any of the struggles or any of the shadows. Carl Jung's shadow work is very much a part of this. And so he devised the gene key system based on how we can discover, using human design, those shadow aspects of ourselves and move into them and through them. And by doing that, unlock the strength that each of our shadows carries inside of it. And
Mhm.
that's the work that I'm carrying forward in the consciousness signature work that I do.
That's powerful. I'm gonna have to look into that because I love this stuff. I'd love to shift a little bit to the back into the business because I have a lot of
Yeah.
coaches, consultants that listen to this. When it comes to customer and client acquisition, when you're looking to bring more people onto the one-on-one, what are you currently doing from a lead generation and marketing front?
My lead generation and marketing front is doing as much as I can on established platforms like YouTube, like my podcast, to have a one-on-one conversation with whoever's interested in what it is I'm providing. Because my particular consciousness signature and my particular human design and gene keys give me a very powerful voice when I'm having a one on one conversation with someone. Those people are drawn to the opportunity of unlocking something deeper in themselves. Every time I've ever had an in person, one on one conversation with somebody who was drawn to this, they have reached into their pocket. So,
Mm.
my goal with getting my information out there is to do it in as personal and intimate a way as possible. And my primary avenues there are my YouTube channel, the Gentle Mastery channel on YouTube, and my podcast, the Gentle Mastery Podcast. I'm
Awesome.
everywhere else from LinkedIn to TikTok. In fact, I'm leaning more into LinkedIn these days
Nice.
because the audience of well-resourced people who are hearing this call and looking for an avenue to explore that, a lot of them are living on LinkedIn.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. So it sounds like right now you're taking an organic approach when it comes to marketing and lead gen. I'm curious if you've thought about running ads, because I've seen coaches in similar lines of work or similar, I guess, offers. They run some sort of meta ad to get people on a one-on-one call. Is that something that you've ever thought about, done, explored?
It is definitely something I've thought about. In fact, one of my many iterations of my business life was founding and operating a digital marketing firm for about 20 years. And I actually still have clients from those days who
Cool.
I manage their meta ads for them. Many of those are coaches. Um, so I have seen the power of those. Um, I have considered it, but here's what my journey has been since I started Gentle Life, which was just not even a year ago. It has been that I haven't needed to do that because the people who hear what I'm doing are drawn to what I'm doing.
Mm,
And when I do get to a place, my business trajectory will be to not only provide the one-on-one consultations, but an entire ecosystem that anybody can take advantage of. Right now,
yeah.
my offer is fairly exclusive. I have a very small number of clients, and it is a five-figure investment. But the work is important for everyone. And so my ultimate goal will be to be able to have my work go out to anyone.
Mm,
And that's when I think advertising is going to make a huge difference. I also have started to look into working with a particular PR firm that approached me. And so that would be getting my voice out into business magazines, Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, things like that.
nice, nice, very cool. Yeah, I could see the YouTube doing very well in terms of getting the message to the masses. And then the people that come across it that are like, I need to work with Dave more intimately, jump in
Exactly.
to the one-on-ones.
Yeah, exactly.
When you think of your vision and really where you want to take this company, let's say over the next 1, 2 years, what are your targets? What are some milestones? What are just generally goals that you're aiming towards?
The most important goal I have is to keep showing up as authentically as I possibly can. My
Mm,
message is not the typical message that goes out to business leaders. I'm talking about making a deep impact on humanity at a time of deep chaos in the world. And that's an offer that not a lot of people feel confident about making. So in that atmosphere or in that environment where there's not a lot of confidence, my number one goal is to continue showing up confidently and to let my business naturally unfold from there.
mm,
I work with a very amazing coach, and I've always worked with coaches since I had the concept for the business 3 years ago, who've helped me understand the esoteric nature of what I'm doing and the actual 3D reality nature of what it is I'm doing. And so
mm,
the goal would be to grow my reach again naturally in such a way that the people who I'm working with use their influence for the betterment of others. And there are many, many, many different ways that we can make that happen. This one-on-one is simply the beginning of that. I do foresee having online digital courses. I do see having a ton of free resources, right? But right now I'm a one-man band. And so I have to focus my attention on where I believe that I'm going to have the highest impact and where that impact is going to do the most good. And then also use that to build my business in a way that everybody can have access to it.
I think you would. Have you ever heard of school.com?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I'm on several school communities there.
Okay, nice. I think you would thrive on school. Like that would definitely be something that I would join personally. And I think
Great.
with the way that it's structured, it's not the barrier to entry in terms of financial investment isn't that high. So it makes it more accessible for people, which is nice.
Exactly.
But then
Yeah.
they have some skin in the game where they're gonna take it more seriously. That
Yeah,
makes
Mike, that's how one of the ways I found the coach that I'm currently working with. And
sense.
she has a presence on school.com, and it's a you join for a relatively small monthly fee and you get a lot of really great information. And then of course the longer that you stay, the more information it unlocks for you. And I just think it's a brilliant platform and a brilliant way to do that. And I'm definitely exploring that.
I love it. What is the best way for people to reach out to you to work with you?
The very best way is to come to my website, gentlemasterymethod.com. I take applications there. There's a lot of information about the work that I'm doing. There's a video there where I explain what I'm doing, and anybody who feels called to is welcome to make an application, set up a one-on-one call with me, and we go through any questions that you have and get started if it's a good fit.
Awesome. And it's Gentle
Gentle,
Mastery for the YouTube channel. So gentlemasterymethod.com for the website, but for the
yes.
YouTube channel,
It is YouTube at Gentle Mastery.
Gentle Mastery.
Everywhere else on the online world, I'm at Dave Hime. But
Awesome.
f- but for YouTube, it's at Gentle Mastery.
And then is that where where they can listen to the podcast?
Yes, so I do a video podcast, and then of course it goes out to all of the audio channels as well. So the Gentle Mastery podcast is on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. It's wherever you normally find your podcast.
Awesome. Dave, thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely, Ammar. I loved it, and I'm expecting you to be the very first person to sign up on school.com for Gentle
I'm ready.
Mastery.
I'm ready.
Okay, great.
So that wraps up another inspiring episode of Founders Future. To our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to go to gentlemasterymethod.com. Also, follow Dave's channel on YouTube, or subscribe, I should say, on YouTube at Gentle Mastery. And you can also find him on other platforms at Dave Hime. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or an agency owner, and you're really looking to scale your business and you want to enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to jump on a call with our team and discover how we went from zero to $30 million in less than 3 years. Until then, keep on climbing.